McKinney Boyd Broncos winning their first game of the season in very convincing style, 51-9 over the Garland Owls. I'm joined by their head coach, Don Drake. And Coach, it was a sound win for your team. Going into this game 0-2, both teams were 0-2, and two good teams, surprisingly 0-2 based on the competition you've played in non-district. What was the motivation for this team going into this game, and just what was their demeanor like knowing that they really needed this win?
Well, we've been focused, for the last several weeks on just trying to correct mistakes that we've made. We feel like our effort's been really good throughout the first part of the season. The kids are playing hard. They're doing a lot of things well, but we had some mental mistakes that were really costing us some opportunities to be successful early in the year. So that's kind of been our focus. We went out the other night against Garland. Our message all week to the kids was we've got to eliminate our mistakes. We've got to keep playing with the same kind of effort that we're doing. And the wins are going to take care of themselves if we'll focus on ourselves and focus on fixing the problems that we've had. And so I was really proud of the kids, particularly in the second half. I thought we played extremely well in the second half on both sides of the football. I thought our special teams phases were pretty solid all the way through the entire football game. And when you play well and you play hard, you give yourselves a chance to be successful, and they were Friday night.
And you certainly do. Let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights. There's plenty of them from this game, putting up 51 points on the board, holding Garland 2-9. And in the first quarter, Garland was the one that started off fast. They got a 6-0 lead, missed the extra point, and got blocked. And then you came back and immediately marched down the field with Curtis Ladd and Dedrick Scrivens.
We did. Curtis did a great job turning the option play up there for a huge gain on the ground. Dedrick's going to put the ball into the end zone here on our counter play from about 17 or 18 yards out, I think, to give us our first score, and we connected on the PAT and went up 7-6.
Defensively, Garland likes to run the ball. Your guys were sniffing out the football all night long.
We did a really good job containing their running game. We gave the quarterback one long carry. Fortunately, he got called back for a penalty, so we were fortunate there that big play didn't hurt us. But for the most part, we contained their running game. I was very, very pleased with that.
Robert Norton had that first interception, one of a few turnovers your defense was able to create. Here's a nice play on special teams. Special teams isn't always the glamour position on the field, but it's so important to pin Garland back.
There's no doubt, right there we had an opportunity. We could have chosen to go for it on fourth down. Instead, we punted to try and pin them deep and play the game of field position, which I think is critical in the game of football. Kids did a good job of holding them down there and us having a short field when we got the ball back.
You're able to keep pulling away in this first quarter. Going into the second quarter, only a 7-6 lead, but you go up 9-6 on a safety. It's going to come in just a couple of plays where they snap the ball out of the end zone. In the second quarter, you really started to turn up the gear. A couple more Dedrick Scrivens touchdowns. He ended up in this game with 4 touchdowns rushing and 1 receiving, 5 total touchdowns.
Yeah, he had a huge night for us, both on the ground and through the air. Curtis did a great job again managing our offense and making some good throws. The offensive line played well. You saw several clips of our defense there just a few seconds ago with a lot of guys swarming to the ball, which is huge for us. It's something we emphasize. We've got to get a lot of hats to the ball, and our kids did a good job of that Friday night. There's Curtis running the option play again, putting us down in scoring range for Dedrick to punch one in here for another touchdown.
Defense here in just a second will create the turnover that gives you your last score before the end of the first half. Defensively, they've given up a few points in these first couple of games to two good offenses, Horn and Coppell. How important was it for them to make a statement like this tonight?
Oh, I think it was huge. The game's a lot about confidence, and kids making plays and seeing what they're capable of when they perform to the level of their ability. They did so, and I think that confidence hopefully carries over into future weeks.
That's a big touchdown pass on a 3rd and 30, a 50-yard touchdown pass to Dedrick Scrivens. You go into halftime with a 23-9 lead, and you open up the third quarter, continuing where you left off, really wanting to expand on that 14-point lead at the break.
Yeah, I really challenged the kids at halftime. I felt like we had done some things in the first half that we weren't as focused as we needed to be. We really didn't play as well as I had hoped we would at that point. Challenged the kids at halftime, and I thought in the second half we really came out and played well in all aspects of the game.
You pitched the shutout defensively. Garland, obviously, in the second half, once you kept getting a larger and larger lead, they kept trying to move the ball quickly, and you force them into those mistakes that often happens when a team starts to press.
There's no doubt. Our defense was able to come up with several turnovers for us Friday night, which was crucial throughout the game. It gave us some opportunities to expand a lead and really put the game away in the third quarter.
There's a touchdown pass from Curtis Ladd to Slater Brown to put you up at the time 30-9 at that point. Later, Garland's going to go for a 4th and 8, and you hold them to a negative 10-yard run. Dedrick Scrivens will have another touchdown to put you up 37-9 here in a few moments. And really, that was really a story of the second half as Dedrick continued to run well. You're even able to get some other guys in the game with that comfortable lead.
Yeah, there was no doubt. We did some good things through the air there. You just saw the pass to Steven Driscoll. You saw the touchdown reception by Slater Brown. We were glad to have Slater back in the lineup this week. He's missed the first 2 ball games due to some injury situations, and so he was back in the lineup this past Friday and made a big difference for us. It's exciting watching defensive play such as this on film. When you see that many guys running to the football, making plays, stopping the run, it's pretty exciting. There's a great carry by Malik Bozeman, who had a few touches the other night, both in the air and on the ground. There's the option play again for Dedrick to go score one of his 5 TDs on the night. Great play here by Paxton Larson from the corner position, reacting to the throw and coming up and securing the tackle, and then you're going to see him get an interception right here.
And Paxton, one of those most experienced guys on the defense coming back.
He is, he's senior corner, and it was great to see him build his confidence a little bit the other night in terms of some of the plays that he was making in the second half.
And really this game was decided, so much in the trenches. Both your offensive line did a great job of pushing forward with the blocking, and then on that defensive line, as you were mentioning earlier, swarming to the football, not allowing themselves to be held back.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought we played well up front again, and I was really proud of those kids and the way that they're performing.
I know that Boyd hasn't been open as long as McKinney High and McKinney North, only about 7 or 8 years now, but you've already have some players making a big impact on the career standings as far as some of the records. Dedrick Scrivens is now the 9th Boyd player to surpass 1,000 career all-purpose yards. He's 7th on the all-time rushing list, 8th on the all-time receiving list, and also Curtis Ladd broke 3,500 career yards from scrimmage.
Yeah, Curtis is playing really well. He's had 3 solid weeks of play, and we need that kind of play from him for us to get to where we're wanting to get to. Obviously, Dedrick has exploded on the scene. I've said this before. A lot of people wondered what we were going to do without Brian Driscoll, and I think Dedrick's shown through the first 3 weeks that he's very capable of shouldering some of that responsibility of the extra yards, whether it be on the ground or through the air.
And there's no question about that anymore. He is definitely the man in the backfield, and he has performed up to expectations. You take on Rockwall next week, and they're a good team like you, 1-2 on the season. How important is it going to Rockwall to come out with that win to even your record at 2-2?
Oh, it's huge. We got a taste of success the other night. We've got to prepare well this week, make sure we stay focused on the task at hand. Go to Rockwall Friday night. It's important that we get a really fast start when we play them Friday. They're a very capable team. I went and watched them play Coppell the other night. Offensively, I thought they did some great things in the first half. He got away from them in the second half, but in the first half, I thought they moved the ball well. So, it'd be a challenge for our defense again to go out and to play well. And offensively, we've got to get a faster start than we did the other night and try to put some pressure on their defense.
And Chris Warren, their running back, will challenge you. He ran for over 100 yards against Coppell. As a coach, you've played Coppell already. You've seen Rockwall face Coppell. How does having that common opponent help you to prepare for the team? And what have you noticed that they did well against Coppell that you're going to try to stop?
Well, I thought they did well in the play-action passing game. They did a good job of mixing the run and the pass. The quarterback made some plays through the air in the play-action passing game. Of course, you mentioned the Warren kid at running back. He's a very, very talented player. He's highly recruited across the country. So they've got some weapons there offensively. So we'll have to obviously understand what our roles are and make sure we stick to the game plan. It's a great thing to be able to watch somebody play an opponent you've already played, because it kind of gives you a gauge for where they are and where those matchups are, because you've already we know where Coppell is and who their players are, and so it's nice to be able to see on film Rockwall matched up against some of those same kids. It gives us a little better understanding of where they are athletically and what it is they're trying to do.
I wanted to get your take before I let you go about targeting, which is a new penalty that has influenced all levels of football this year. This past weekend, the big Alabama A&M game, you saw an Alabama player, their safety, ejected, but then re-entered the game thanks to their ability to review those penalties. In the NFL, a couple of big moments happened as well. As a coach, especially defensively, for your players trying to focus on tackling properly, how tough is it on them, especially with those wideouts when they duck their head and the crown of their helmet is facing sideways, and then your normal tackle, now all of a sudden you have to go lower, and they could fake you out and go low, and if you try to avoid them, they could keep running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very difficult to coach kids not to go make those plays. You know, we had one happen in our game the other night. I mean, the safety from Garland broke on one of our receivers and made what I thought was a great play. The referee saw it as helmet-to-helmet contact and targeting and ejected him from the game. I thought the kid did an outstanding job, you know, and so it's very hard to be able to coach your kids in terms of not breaking up that pass, you know. I mean, you know, we joke sometimes about what are we supposed to do, just let them catch the ball, you know, which obviously you can't do that. I mean, that's not the goal. And so, you know, it's a very difficult situation. I understand the rule. I understand why the rule was put into effect. I saw the one the other night the other afternoon with the A&M Alabama game. Again, I thought the defensive back made a great play. I thought there was no question with respect to the play. I was a little disappointed he was flagged, you know, at all. And fortunately for him, they did eject him, but did review it, overturn the ejection. You know, that's the sad part, I think, about high school football is we don't have the benefit of replay. And so I feel for those kids who are going out and playing very hard and making a great play, and all of that decision is put in the hands of the official, and he essentially can take away, you know, 1/10 of a kid's season. And so, you know, a kid works all year long to have an opportunity to go compete 10 times, you know, 10 guaranteed games, and all of a sudden something happens, and through the evaluation or the judgment call of an official, the kid's removed from a game, and now he's missing part of a season that he's prepared and worked so hard for. So that's probably my biggest hang-up with it at the high school level for sure, is that we're ejecting kids from games without the benefit of having a review and making sure we got the call right. You know, the fact of a 15-yard penalty, that's going to happen sometimes. I really don't have the issue with that per se, but the ejection piece, I think, is pretty tough. You know, we kind of relate that to, you know, ejecting a kid for making a holding call. And I know people would say, well, yeah, but holding calls aren't going to turn into the kind of impact hits that we're talking about. But again, a kid's doing what he's coached to do and feels like he's making the play that he needs to make. I don't think it's through, you know, malice that those kind of things are happening. And I know that exists sometimes, and I think in those situations, you know, ejecting a kid is perfectly appropriate. But I think it's very, very difficult to make that kind of decision when it's just a bang-bang type play, and you don't really know, you know, if it was intentional or not in terms of the helmet-to-helmet targeting type piece.
Player safety is certainly a big concern, but also it's a very tentative time trying to adjust to the rule, especially for defensive players. Thank you so much for talking about that, Coach, and getting your take on it, and good luck with your game coming up next week against Rockwall.
All right, thank you.
McKinney Boyd Broncos are on the board in the win column. That 51-9 win over Garland. They'll look to make it 2 in a row next week against Rockwall. Once again, a big thank you to both Coach Smith and Coach Drake for joining us on today's show. North's football team has a week of recouping ahead as they have their bye week and will not play on Friday. The 5A schools will be in action, though. McKinney welcomes North Garland to town, while McKinney Boyd travels to Rockwall to face the Yellow Jackets. With the weather beginning to cool off, there's no excuse for not showing up to support your school. So until next week, from all of us here at Sports Talk, I'm Tyler Sloan. Enjoy the game.